you're a home buyer, somebody or a young person looking to buy a home, you need a bit of a reset.
There is a possibility on the other side of this that inflation could actually be quite low.
Welcome back to Real Estate Mindset. Today's video is going to be absolutely bonkers. Now, the data is in, and today we're going to go over JPMorgan and what they're saying about 99% of Americans being financially insecure or having financial turmoil going into 2024. And do me a favor, guys, understand I'm not a financial advisor, even though my bio is as someone that pays money to educate consumers. I pay money teaching a home buyer's course. I pay that money, and my bio is as someone that is going to put the bottom consumers first before even myself and my family. Not to mention, I'm also a realtor, loan officer, and CE instructor in the state of Texas. So I've been around the block a little bit. And if you guys can, don't forget to like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, shoot me a comment below, and enjoy the value of this video. Now, people have been telling me, Travis, you need to be more sensitive. You need to appeal to more people. But the thing is, guys, I don't think that this is a time to be sensitive. I think right now that we need to be mean and we need to be yelling at the top of our lungs, hey, stop your bad spending habits. Hey, stop the fear of missing out. It's time to buckle down and prepare for what's right around the corner, which is in my opinion, a very deep recession. So we're going to go over the turmoil that Americans are facing right now by starting with a Yahoo article titled, a whopping 99% of Americans will be financially worse off than they were pre-pandemic by mid-2024, JPMorgan says. Now, the three main bullet points of this article are: JPMorgan said the vast majority of Americans have burned through excess savings. Bullet point 2, it's likely that all but the top 1% of consumers will be worse off financially in mid-2024 than they were pre-pandemic. Now, here's the thing, you guys, there are already a ton of people that are way worse off than they were pre-pandemic. Now, bullet point number 3, B of A wrote this month that elder millennials, that's me, B of A wrote this month that elder millennials face a particularly tough set of circumstances. Now, we'll jump into the article to really break down all that means, but I want you guys to know that after we're done reading this really boring part of the video, I'm going to be jumping into multiple data sets to show you just how bad a shape Americans really are, including looking at personal savings rate, the bankruptcy statistics, and real income, okay? Because what do we keep hearing? The job market's so hot, right? The job market's so hot, people are doing so well, but the reality is they're not. And actually, from the data that we're going to review, incomes have gone down since pre-pandemic levels, at least into 2022. We haven't yet finished the year of 2023 out, but this stuff, you guys, is crazy. And what's even more crazy is how the mainstream media narrative continuously is foolishly, overly optimistic about what's happening in the economy. So I hope, okay, I'm just going to give you the end of this video right now. I hope that you're getting paid to wait, that if you are on the sidelines like I am, I've taken my down payment for a house, I put it in T-bills. I'm making several $100s a month on that. I've also got new credit cards that have a high cashback percentage rate. And here's the good thing, you guys, I pay the balance off before it builds. That's the key with the credit cards. Do not wait to pay the balance off. But regardless, let's jump into the article now. And y'all, I'm going to jam through this. The majority of Americans have burned through their excess savings piled up during the COVID-19 pandemic. And in the coming months, JPMorgan says it is likely that most everyone will be worse off financially than they were in 2019. In a Thursday note, the bank's top stock strategist, Marco, said 80% of consumers, a group that accounts for nearly 2/3 of consumption, has already, it's done, right? It's already depleted any savings cushion that they may have built up during the lockdowns. Comment below, let me know if you're one of those people. I bet you're not. Most of the people on YouTube are actually above average. So again, comment below. I'm interested to know what position you're in. Now, it's likely that only the top 1% of consumers by income will be better off than they were before the pandemic, and that is super duper depressing. They're also pointing to the growing signs of credit card and auto delinquencies, as well as Chapter 11 bankruptcies, Chapter 11 bankruptcy filings, small businesses and businesses going out of business. That's what Chapter 11 represents. This continues. The chart below shows by June 2024, every income group except the top 1%. That's crazy if you really think about that. Is on pace to dip below their March 2022 levels of inflation adjusted liquid asset in the form of deposits and money market funds. And you can really see that projection right here. Everyone going straight down as far as being in a worse situations from a savings aspects than they were pre-pandemic, except for this blue dotted line. It's always the top 1%. I mean, the wage gap right now, you guys, is absolutely ridiculous. So I'm not going to get political. Okay, I'm not going to get political, but maybe we should be very cautious on who we vote for and how they spend money, because think about this. We're paying it, right? This is a tax. All of the money printing this is the tax, right? The inflation is the tax. We're paying back all the money that we got from the COVID printing and then a whole bunch more. How is this possible? It's messed up. This article goes on. JPMorgan estimated previously that excess savings had peaked in August 2021 at a whopping, shocking, eye-popping $2.1 trillion. Wow. Boosted by government stimulus checks. Y'all remember those stimulus checks? Did we get any in the last 3 years? I don't think so. Well, actually, I'm sorry. We did in 2022, and that actually hurt us. And then the banks got bailed out in 2023. So that actually hurt us as well. Why isn't anyone talking about that? Does everyone remember the bank bailout this year? Everyone's like, Travis, oh my gosh, you were right about 2022, but you were wrong about 2023. I mean, what I was wrong about, you guys, I didn't think that the government would come in 4 days to bail out the banks. And why didn't I think that? Because I listened to Ben Bernanke and that whole HARP programs, the toxic asset relief programs. You remember back in 2009 when they promised they wouldn't do that again? And it took, 30 months for them to bail out back then? It took, 30 hours this time around? Not quite 30 hours, but you guys, here's the thing, all right, when we really think about it, the bullish narrative out there in the economy, almost, from my conclusion, almost all of their hope remains on government bailout. Think about that. They don't care about fundamentals anymore. They just want money printing to begin again. Isn't that kind of crazy if you think about it? So their premise is, let's just keep buying. Who cares about the overvaluation? Because the government's going to come save us. That's crazy. Consumers are facing tighter credit conditions and rising rates. And the tighter credit conditions, guys, let's be honest, that's unaffordability. They're still lending to consumers like crazy. Really, the only thing that's been hit as far as credit tightening is commercial financing and subprime auto loans. It's a little bit tighter, though, overall, but still not the tightness that we need to continuously tamper down demand. Now, older millennials, I think I'm an older millennial. In fact, I barely hit the millennial group. It is what it is, guys. You see all the white hairs? I mean, it's sad, but it's just part of life. If you want to dye it, you can dye it. You guys see I'm completely shameless with my white hairs. Anyways, moving on before I get too cringy. Okay, older millennials, a demographic of Americans born in the 1980s, like me, that holds significant influence on the U.S. economy. Do I really hold that much influence on the U.S. economy? I don't think so, because I'm not spending like a wacko right now. We had to navigate the 2008 financial crisis, and I did navigate it in the ditches because I lost everything. Just saying. The two economic storms, as well as a mounting childcare costs and sticky inflation. And I have 4 children, 3 are young. Dude, my heart goes out to the parents that don't have the ability to have someone watch their kids, because childcare is absolutely ridiculous. It is bad. JPMorgan notes that fortunately for now, there is little sign of a systematic weakness in housing, though the market remains largely frozen amid high borrower cost. Okay, interesting. Okay, so there's no systematic weakness. Well, what about the PE ratio being 7.4, meaning that this is a bigger asset bubble than the great financial crisis? And what about the payment to income ratio? That is the worst unaffordability since the 1980s, almost in history. I mean, what about that? What about that stuff, guys? Isn't that important? Maybe it's not, because again, remember the bullish narrative. They're just going to save us and bail us out. I wasn't raised that way. I was raised to work hard, save your money, and you will get ahead in life. That's how I was raised. Now, it's crazy to think, though, that the people that are recklessly spending, okay, foolishly saving money are getting ahead. And you know what? If you're on the sidelines and you have fundamentals and you have ethics, I got to tell you, I understand your frustration, because all of these kids got lucky if they purchased a house in 2020, 2021, and maybe at the beginning of 2022, depending on the metro area. That was only luck, you guys. That was not fundamentals. It was only luck. Remember that. This goes on. There are no significant delinquencies in residential mortgages yet. That's wrong. Okay. FHA is above pre-pandemic. FHA delinquencies is skyrocketing. In fact, it's a state of emergency, and they're trying to ban foreclosures once again with FHA. Despite the fact, well, I don't want to use the term of the virus, but like who's doing this, right? I mean, I don't understand what's going on in America right now. I mean, this is not how I was raised. I mean, I paid some pretty steep prices because I had morals, with my bankruptcy, with my foreclosure. I mean, I left in 2 weeks. Some people stayed in their house for 10 years, and I'm the sucker that left in 2 weeks. Anyways, there are no significant delinquencies in residential mortgage yet, as mortgage consumers are locked into low rates and they also have equity. However, existing home sales have dropped near record lows, and $6.5 trillion of commercial real estate debt remains in overhang. Okay, so in conclusion of that article, my understanding is basically consumers right now are running on fumes. Almost all savings are gone, and only, just like usual, this should be no surprise, only the top 1% are going to make it out okay and unscathed. Only the top 1%. Raise your hand if you're the top 1%. Seriously, if you're the top 1%, I want you to comment below and say, hey, I'm the top 1%, and then tell us how you remained at the top 1%. Was it because of your bad spending habits? Is that how you remained at the top 1%? Or is it because of your good spending habits? Comment below. Let me know if you are the top 1%. All right, take a look at this golden chart right here. This is the personal savings rate. And I want to tell you guys, okay, a lot of people are like, oh, it's just like the 1970s. It's just like the 1980s. But in the 1970s, look at the savings rates, guys. The savings rate was 11 to 13% in the entire 70s. Okay, look at that. I mean, seriously, right now it's 3.8. Right now it's in the gutter because people don't have the ability to save because things are so expensive right now. So again, if the consumer's doing so well, why can't we save? And then if we go to the 80s, which is right here, it started to dip a little bit, but it was anywhere from, let's just say, an average of 9%, okay, in the 80s. It started out in the beginning of the 80s in the 12%, but again, kind of went down into the 8s and 9%, but we'll just say in the 80s it was 9%. Fast forward today, again, 3.8, it's in the gutter. In fact, the only time we've had such low savings, do you guys want to know when? It was right before the great financial collapse. It was 2 and 3%. And that's probably because people back then, and I was in the business back then, people stopped caring about being financially responsible and became insane debt spenders, kind of like right now. The difference is back then they chose to. Right now, not only are people choosing to, people have to, because prices, specifically of houses, have gone completely wacko and have absolutely no fundamentals whatsoever. And that's all shelter, including rent. But then the question is can't consumers just afford to pay this debt? Aren't consumers making more money? Well, not according to this chart. Now, this is real median household income in the United States. Now, this is the annual breakdown. It's not monthly, so chill out, everyone, okay? It's just yearly because I want you guys to see the big picture. When we go to pre-COVID, we were sitting at $78,250. If we fast forward to 2022, you guys, we went down. For the last 3 years, 2020, 2021, and 2022, real wages have gone down, not up, according on an annual basis. Again, went from $78,250 to all the way to the end of 2022, sitting at $74,580. That's $3,000 less. And inflation went up, what, double digits? You guys, this is a complete house of cards. There's literally no fundamentals in this market right now. I mean, other than the whole, supply and demand, but I mean, let's just say affordable supply, okay? We have supply, at least in houses. It's just people right now are spending like wackos and we're making way less money. We see that right here. There's no question. So I keep asking, why does the mainstream media keep talking about the amazing job market? It's probably because of all the part-time jobs and government jobs, the useless jobs that will not last. Now, lastly, let's take a look at the bankruptcy stats right now. Now, this is an updated report, came out this month in December, and it's going to really, what's really crazy right now is, remember, we're just talking about the labor market and how we're making less money, except for this year, 2023, we may finish this year out with wage growth. So I do want to be clear about that, but we should, right? We should have finished every year with wage growth, especially because of how expensive it is. But the problem is the wage gap is exploding. Okay, the top 1% are making money and everyone else is just drowning right now. But anyways, the name of this article is November Commercial Chapter 11 Business Bankruptcies. They're up year over year, 141% year over year. So Are we starting to understand the trajectory of these trends? Let's go on. Let's look at the consumer side now. Take a look at this, guys. Let me scroll down here. Total bankruptcy filings were 37,860 in November. That is a 21% increase. So all bankruptcies up 21%. But here's the interesting thing. Individual bankruptcies also registered a 21% increase year over year at 35,608. So most of the bankruptcies are individual bankruptcies. Now, when we really break this down, you guys, let's take a look at Chapter 7. Chapter 7 bankruptcies are where you basically get to walk away completely from your debt. There were 20,250 individual Chapter 7 filings in November. That's up 23%. Okay. Now, Chapter 13 bankruptcies is more of a restructure program. So Chapter 13 is usually the homeowner bankruptcy. So Chapter 7, you get to walk away from everything. But if you have a house, and you have equity, you're probably going to want to do a Chapter 13. Now, Chapter 13 filings in November 2023 is up 19%, an increase over last year filings of 12,862, now sitting at 15,280. In other words, you guys, despite what we're hearing in all this mainstream media, most of us are not doing too well. Most of us are struggling. Now, what does all this mean to you? Well, I'll tell you what it means to me and what I've been doing. I put most of my down payment for a house into T-bills, 1 month T-bills. So I'm getting over 5% back on an annualized basis. So that helps me make another few $100s a month. I'm trying to use the inflation in my favor right now. But one thing I don't want to do is just wallow in the corner upset, not trying to take care of myself and stay ahead of this. And another thing I'm doing is I've switched my credit card usage. My credit cards are now getting 2% minimum cash back. And the key with credit card debt, remember this, guys, is paying off the balance before it bills. If you wait to pay off the balance, by the time it bills, you have to pay finance charges. If you really want to use good credit to your advantage, you charge, but you pay off the entire balance before it bills, and you just cash in that cash back. I'm literally, guys, because of the inflation, even though I'm paying a lot more and I've lost a lot of income, I'm making $600 to $700 back a month by just simply rearranging how I'm living my life. Again, T-bills, it's a little bit risk-free. I know, if I was rich, maybe I'd be buying gold. Okay. I have a little bit of gold, but I'm not buying that much gold. And the other thing is again, the way that I spend my money using cash back credit cards. Okay. So hopefully you guys found some value in this video. And other than that, guys, if you're out there investing in real estate, you already know I wish you luck and I hope you win.